everyone. What's up? How are we doing? I'm Coach Daniel. I'm here with current pro soccer player Jill Aguilera.
Hello.
Lovely, lovely, fantastic to have you. We've been trying to do this for a long time, but here's the day today. And we're going to ask you some questions. So obviously, all our focus is on your training, how you became who you are. But let's start at the beginning of the small story of how we actually met. When I met Jill, it was actually through her mother. Her mother she is a vibrant soul and wonderful lady. I was doing some trainings during COVID, and it was at the Vista Sports Park here in North County, San Diego. And she came and she approached me saying, "Oh, the training looks good. I have a daughter. She was so proud of you, and she wanted you to get some extra trainings in there." And she asked me what about, et cetera, et cetera. So I was like, "Yeah, of course. Arizona, fantastic. Let's get her in here." And I think a couple days later, we started the training, and whoa, I was wowed by your speed, your strength, your accuracy, your passion, and so began our story. And we trained, I would say, almost every day or every other day during the COVID period before you went back to Arizona. And after that, we kept the connection, because definitely it's all about chemistry in when you're doing personal training. And we had her in terms of group training. You became a mentor to all the players in the area. And then, of course, we did our, I would say, training where we honed in. And we did specific stuff. We would train for an hour and a half, 2 hours on just one or two aspects, which I really thought was fantastic. And then to see you train on one thing, and then 2 weeks later, you're doing it exactly in the game against Stanford and UCLA, because I think you were part of the Pac-12. And it was really awesome to see that journey. So I think it's, 3 years now we've been able to train together, etc. So that's our little story of how we began.
Yeah, I think it's been really great training and just getting closer as friends and like coach and player. But yeah, honestly, it's just fun, just joking around, hanging out, catching up. Whenever I come back for off season or anything like that, we just get right back to it, and it's been great so far. So
love it. I appreciate that to the max. Okay, so obviously we'll start at the top. Tell us how you got started in soccer. You are a North Cal native, correct?
Yeah. I'm from Redwood City. Basically, I started a new school in Redwood City, and I just started playing soccer at recess and lunch with all the boys, of course. That's usually how it starts. And then one of my teachers told my mom that I need to play on a team.
Really?
So that's really how it started. And I was kind of late. I started, I think I was like 8 years old. It was like third or fourth grade.
Okay.
And I played 1 year of AYSO. And then after that, they had me try out for a club team, Juventus. It's a pretty small club in Redwood City. Made the team, and then...
Where is Redwood City? Like, what major city is that near?
It's about 30 minutes south of San Francisco.
Okay.
I lived about 10 minutes from Stanford University.
Okay, cool.
So I did go to a few of the soccer games growing up. So
Love
obviously
it.
Stanford's been a great team for so long. So
Correct.
Yeah. And then I played on the club team, and then once I got into high school, they decided to make a new club team that was specifically for girls who wanted to go play in college.
Oh,
So we
nice.
got a new coach. So I was on the quote-unquote A team, and then they made a new A team for people who wanted to play in college. So we had tryouts for that. I made the team, and then that's the team that I played for all throughout my last 4 years of of high school, and then through that I got recruited to play college at the University of Arizona.
Let's reel back a little bit.
Yeah.
So you started, I would say, around 14 at that club. Was it still called Juventus?
Yeah, it's Juventus. It was just a new team name.
Okay, new team name.
Yeah.
And so pretty much you got the opportunity to play with like-minded players.
Yeah.
Right, which is huge in
Yeah.
everything you do, really. You
Yeah.
want like-minded people around you. And what was it like? How often do you guys train per week? How was the training? Was it intense? Was it okay? What was that like?
It's very, very different to what it what it is now.
Right.
Seeing some of the way that these girls train, I believe we trained about 3 times a week, 4
Okay.
times a week. But we were consistently having games every single weekend, whether it was like a 6 game weekend,
Wow.
like Surf Cup and Blues
Right,
Cup,
right.
things like that. But we also played in State Cup, in NorCal, which was a league in Northern California,
Of course,
obviously.
yeah.
And but yeah, so it was just made up of so many different girls, so many different backgrounds, ethnicities.
Love
So
that.
and it was really great to be around all of those girls, and growing up with them, and
So, do you guys travel a lot? Because now we travel like I'm with my team. I'm in Tennessee this coming weekend, Arizona twice, Nevada, North LA, always in Orange County. It's constant travel. Was it like that for you some 10 years ago?
we did travel. I don't think it was as much as it is now.
Right, yeah.
We went to Surf Cup
course.
twice a year.
Right.
There was a tournament in Seattle. We've been to Utah. There's the Avalanche tournament.
correct.
Went to Vegas.
Okay.
But a lot of the time it was throughout the Bay Area. We played in Sacramento a lot, and Turlock, Davis.
Right.
A lot of it was within California, but then there were these random times throughout the year where we would go to like Seattle, Utah, Vegas, those types of things.
Good. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So what was the training like for you to be one of the top players on that team? Was there like a private trainer? Did you train on your own? Was there a group of friends on a Saturday that you decided, hey, we need to go train to do this? Or was the practice very much a lot of development? Because the top clubs now, it's not really about development, especially when you're in the high school level.
Yeah.
It's all about learning the game plan,
Yeah.
maybe tactically, and execute.
Yeah.
Versus, obviously, in the younger ages, a lot about trapping, dribbling. Was
Yeah.
it the same way, or was it a lot of development? Because for me, growing up, even though we were older, we were still working on the basics.
Yeah.
And to see how that that was yesterday's news to now, it's tactics, execution, try to win. Was
Yeah.
it like that for you, or?
I think it was more development.
Okay.
Wise, it was a lot of, figuring out, not so more like tactics, but more like technical type drills and things like that. And I think our coach allowed us to have a little bit more freedom and use our strengths to win games. And we were kind of made up of a lot of random. It was very mishmash. It was very
Right.
random group thrown together, but we were consistently like number one in the nation for a while,
wow.
which was kind of interesting because I didn't play ECNL, which was, quote unquote important to, get to college. But at the same time, we were still number one, and we were playing ECNL teams, beating ECNL teams. There were only maybe 2 or 3 ECNL teams that were very, very good in our area. And now one of them is my teammate, which is kind of crazy. Tirna, I
Really?
played against her my whole life, and now she's my teammate, which is great.
That's fun.
Yeah. But overall, like, we were consistently good. And even though I didn't play ECNL, I still felt like I had a lot of opportunities. For example, like when I was getting recruited, I had wanted to go to Cal because I thought I wanted to stay in California. But they weren't necessarily interested in me because I didn't play ECNL. However, when I committed to Arizona and I loved it, and that was the best decision for me.
Yeah.
A few months after that, I guess Cal was going to see another player, saw me, and wanted me on a visit after that. And then my coach, who knew the coach of Cal, kind of chewed him out, saying, like, you're paying attention to all these ECNL players when you have players
Love
right
that.
here. But I do think the club level has changed a lot.
Right.
Like we had DA, and I don't think that's a thing
No,
anymore.
it's done. Yeah.
Yeah.
It came for like 2 hot years,
Yeah.
and now it's
Yeah,
poof.
and like there's ECNL, and I think it just kind of, I think soccer has just expanded so much, especially at the
time.
youth level,
Big time.
where you can find players anywhere because there's so many and they're so good, and there's so many different levels that is open to them, whether they want to play D1, D2, D3, NAIA. Like the teams are all catching up to each other, and we're seeing schools that, you know, maybe when I was in college, like weren't very good, but now they're very, very good.
Yeah.
You know, like one of my teammates from Arizona, for her grad year, she transferred to UC Irvine.
Ah, there we go.
And
Yep.
Irvine upset number one UCLA undefeated the whole year in
Yep.
the first round of the tournament. And I think they did that before.
2 years prior.
Yeah.
Yep.
Was it to UCLA or USC?
UCLA again.
Yeah,
That's
so,
their
like-
Achilles heel. Is
Exactly,
Irvine.
yeah.
Lost in 2 seasons ago. Then UCLA won the whole thing.
Yeah,
and then they got
exactly.
them again.
Yeah.
And
so you
what an
never know.
interesting story.
Like, you know, anybody could beat anyone on any given day. So I think just it's definitely changed now. But, you know, back then maybe it was a little bit more predictable. But yeah, so it really, at the club level, it's just as long as you're happy and you feel like you're growing as a player and you're developing and you're around a good group of, you know, teammates that, you know, that really care about each other and, you know, put it all out there on the field. I think that's the best thing that somebody can do.
Okay, I appreciate that. What about in terms of like, what was the process? I know you kind of mentioned that a little bit, but what was the process into getting to Arizona or just into college,
Yeah,
more
so
specifically?
luckily, my mom always instilled that, like, you know, I needed to, you know, prioritize my education if I wanted to play soccer because that is what I love to do. So luckily, firstly, I did have a scholarship academically
nice.
for Arizona, and but going back a little bit to being recruited,
Right.
I got recruited at Surf Cup.
Nice.
Yeah, and so, you know, I think it's important for each player to have something really special about them that makes them stand out a little bit. And I think that for me was like, I'm left-footed, and that's something that people notice about me pretty quickly.
God's gift to soccer, left footers. Thank you very much, Messi. Right there
Yeah.
you go.
And so I think that was like what stood out to the coaches for me first. And so that's kind of how it started. They, you know, talked to my coach. My mom was our team manager, of course.
That helps.
Yeah. And so, you know, she's handing out the cards of, you know, recruitment cards, stuff like that. And yeah, so we went on talks. I went on a visit. They offered me scholarship and wanted me to go to their school. You know, and I applied, got academic scholarship as well as soccer scholarship.
Love it. I got some offers like that. It's always
Yeah,
good. Yeah,
it's great. And then once I visited, the campus was beautiful. It was amazing. The girls were super great. The coaches really cared. It was a kind of like a transitional period where we were winning more games and we were being more competitive in the Pac-12. We were kind of an underdog, and I think that mentality was really great for me to have. Because, you know, it's not like you have to prove yourself, but it's like, I'm going to show you who we are and you're going to think that we're something else. And then we're going to, you know, sucker punch you kind of thing. And we did that to many schools in the Pac-12 specifically.
That's true. Yep.
So I think it was just a really great decision for me. So I was able to, you know, have an academic scholarship, a soccer scholarship, play at a really high level, and grow and develop into the player that I am now. But yeah.
Okay, perfect. So welcome back to our edition here of Raising Champions. We're here with Jill Aguilera, current pro at Chicago Red Stars.
Yep.
All right. Good. Next question I have for you is, did you play high school soccer in North Cal? How was that experience? Do you recommend it? Do you not recommend it for any players today?
I did play high school soccer and I loved it. It was a great experience. I went to a high school where a lot of the people from our entire club also went to that high school. So it was so great because I was able to play with people from the entire club, whether they were older or younger.
Right, that's
and
true.
so our entire team was made up of a lot of people from our club, and
Right.
some of them are, some of my friends had their older sister on the team or
yeah.
things like that, and it was just a really great experience overall. We were very, very good. My freshman year, we in Northern California, it's called CCS, Central Coast Section. That's like the playoff tournament type thing.
Correct.
We were co-champions. They didn't do like PKs or anything. I don't know
Okay.
why, but they didn't do PKs, so we went to double overtime and was still tied. Sophomore year, I think we were finalists. We got second place. My junior year, I think we lost in the semifinals. And then my senior year was the first year of doing an open division, so the top
Nice.
schools
That's what's up.
made it into this open division section instead of Division 1, 2, 3. It was open division, whoever was the best of the best.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, so we won. We were champions for in 2016.
Okay.
The first ever open division champions. We played what school? I think we played Mountain View.
Okay.
At Santa Clara,
Nice.
Santa Clara University. That that classic grass field.
Yeah.
San Jose Earthquakes
there.
used
It's
to play
kinda
there.
fun there, yep.
Yeah, it's crazy. So we played there. It was a really great way to end my high school soccer career. I do hold the record there as well with I think it's like 105 or 6 goals, something like that.
Easy. That's all it is. That's awesome.
Yeah, so it was really great experience to to play with all the different ages in our club, and then I felt like that was a really great segue going into college.
What is the benefits you would say? I mean, you won a ton, which
Yeah.
is great. But what is the benefits for a player now? Because the club soccer right now is a grind. I always say it's like a job.
Yeah.
And high school, obviously, is a break from that. What are the benefits for you, or you advise a young person to do high school, if you encourage that or not?
Yeah, I think I definitely encourage it. I think it would be a really great opportunity. You're naturally going to be playing with different people,
Right.
against different people, and you're going to be coached by different people most likely.
Yep.
And I think those 3 things can help you grow as a player in a way where you're being coached by somebody, so you're kind of seeing some different tactical or technical differences between what you would normally have with your club coach. That way you're learning a few different things. Maybe on this team, you're playing a different position, and you learn that
That's what high school is.
Yeah,
Yep.
you're learning like what's best for you, or like maybe you fall in love with a different position, or maybe you kind of reinforce your love for the position that you do play on your club
Correct.
team. Let's say that you're not getting as much playing time on your club team as you would like, and you're playing on a high school team. Maybe you do get more playing time, and that's where you get the experience and the opportunity to learn and grow and get better. And then once the club season starts back up again, maybe you're much more closer and you're confident
Yep.
to earning that starting spot on your club team as well.
Well, what is your advice? Because obviously, the high school you're at is the high school you're at.
Yeah.
And say you in a Division 3 level, and it's not as good, and say your club is fantastic, and your club is amazing, and it's very technical, etc. But high school is not so much technical. What are in your perspective, the benefits, even though it's not as good high school? What can you do to enjoy it and gain something from the high school, even though they're not as good as the club?
Yeah, I think
That's been the argument.
Yeah, I think especially if you're on a team, if you're on a very high level club team and your high school team isn't at the highest level that you would like, I think it's a good opportunity to learn to work on like your own leadership skills and
Love
things
it.
like that,
Huge.
and then also work on little technical things, bring it back to the basics. Like those are things that I continue to do every single day, work on the basics, because in reality, like those are it's the tiniest differences,
Yep.
like technical ability, just passing accuracy, your ability to control the ball, and that's the smallest differences that that can lead to a big difference between, oh, you're starting, oh, you're not starting, oh, you're being recruited from this Division 1 team
Right.
to this Division 1 team. Like the margins become smaller and smaller as
Correct.
the level gets higher and higher. And I think that, working on your leadership skills, working on your technical ability, working on your soccer IQ, those things are, working on your vocal ability. Like I learned in college, my vocal ability, even though I was a forward, and then I had to work on it even more as I started playing professionally because I was moved back kind of like as a wing back. So I did have to communicate a lot more. And, learning that from an early age, being vocal now is so, so, so important to a lot of college coaches to being recruited and on your path to playing professionally if that's what you want to do.
1,000%. I love that you said that. And, even if you are a quiet person, you can have a different personality on the field.
Yeah.
I have a very good friend of mine growing up back in Trinidad. His name was Naeem Fredericks, the quietest guy ever. But on the field, he was a lion.
Yeah.
He would tackle, he would play big, and when he did speak, he would listen.
Yeah.
But then off the field, he's back to chill and quiet. Naeem. And I'm like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
Have to love it, have to appreciate it. I agree. So I'm coaching in the ECNL. We coach as much as we can, but the players that could communicate on the field makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
And even at the high school level, when I coached there, the teams that I had that won CIF or done really well, I have those captains or those leaders that talked on the field, made a huge difference. So I'm glad that you're mentioning that because that's really a big factor that can help elevate a player or get a player notice for college recruitment. Big time. I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, of course.
For sure. So leading on to that, you said your college experience was fantastic. You punched people in the mouth, per se, metaphorically speaking.
Yeah.
And wanted to know what was training like in college for the team aspect, and what was your personal training like on your own to be the best? Because, I mean, you have the most goals at the college levels at the Wildcats in Arizona. What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, I think it started out a little rough, my freshman year after going through all of the fitness tests and lifting and doing all that first summer is really, really intense and it's really difficult. I tore my ACL 2016, my freshman year of college, so I redshirted. I didn't play at all my first year, and it was kind of bittersweet or like a blessing in disguise where I got to see, I got to just visualize the game and see the college level and kind of visualize where I see myself, where I can be successful, and things that I might need to work on that, I'm like, hey, like they're doing this really well, like maybe that's something I need to work on. I don't do it very much. So I got to kind of like, obviously I'm, sitting on the sidelines and I'm like, okay, I'm soaking in all of this information instead of having to do it first and then learn after. But I think for me, once I was able to get back into it, it's definitely a pace change between, club and college. You can't take plays off like you could in club. Like there were times like, especially as a forward, like, you're making runs. And then if you're, you could kind of relax a little bit. The defense maybe not as organized, but in college, you're playing with girls that are, 22, 23 years old, and you're 18 or 17 even. And, they've been doing this for, if it's their senior year, they've been doing it for 4 years. So you kind of have to, tighten it up a little bit. You got to be more organized, and then, improve your technical ability. But those are all things that come with experience and just training with your teammates. Right. It's very common that, college teams do mesh well together because you spend so much time together, especially the college season is so short.
It's short and intense, right? 3 games a week sometimes.
It's so much. And
the travel.
And doing it with school and, but everybody, they grow together and everyone's here and in it for those few months because you only have, 3, maybe 4 months that you're really in it with your team.
So August, which is preseason partly, and some scrimmages. And September, October.
And then November is the tournament.
So the beginning of November, if you do really well, the end of November.
Yeah, exactly.
So 3.5 months to 4. Okay. I got you. How long is the spring season?
The spring season, well, for me, we usually only had 5 games, but we go from January to May.
To May.
Like middle of January to beginning of May. That's for I was in semester system, but it may
Okay.
be different if the university or college
2
is.
to 3 months there.
Yeah, exactly.
But
And
only a month of games per se, or less than that?
yeah, probably just a month of games. And for us, it was spring was probably the hardest because you're lifting and you're running
Right,
and
okay.
you're learning to be, you're getting stronger, you're getting faster, you're getting fitter, you're being more explosive. Like, and at Arizona, they had different groups for us based off of our needs. Like, hey, maybe this person needs to add strength. Hey, this is a center back or a goalkeeper. We need to work on their jumping ability. We need to get them jumping higher, jumping farther. Or let's say, we would have agility sessions where you just need to get faster, moving your feet, pumping your arms. And then there were just days where it's like, all right, we're running 300-yard shuttles, or all right, we're running ramps at the football stadium. We're running ramps to stadiums at the football stadium. So it was really tough, but after you feel so accomplished and you feel
Big time.
and then
Yep.
all you're looking forward to, you're like, okay, I have the summer to look forward to rest a little bit, but then we're right back to it and we're pushing for a national championship.
Big time.
So
Love that. So the intensity in practice in college is high.
yes.
Because everyone is battling for playing time.
Yep.
Everyone is great players coming from across the nation or even
Yeah.
the world.
Yeah.
And so, what would you tell a kid right now who's trying to get into college, male or female? What will you tell them on how to practice to prepare them for college in terms of their practices and then, of course, the games? Because right now we have a lot of kids that enter freshman year of college and then they quit.
Yeah.
It's too hard. Coach don't
Yeah.
like me. There's always some weird excuse. But at the end of the day, you went through some adversity in your freshman year being torn ACL. You could have just quit.
Yeah.
But what kept you going? And what is your advice to players to keep playing even though they don't play much in their freshman year? And what to do to prepare for that practice and the
Yeah.
level of college coming from a youth player?
Yeah. I think overall, I would probably say when you go to, when you're being recruited and you go to a university or a college and you've been recruited to go there, I think it's important to, kind of almost check your mindset a little bit. You want to have like a growth mindset going into it. Yes, you're recruited, but so was everyone else. And technically, everybody on your team could have been the best on the team, on your club team. So it's important to like remember those things where it's like, you played all the minutes in club, but then you're starting from the bottom. You got to work your way up to get that playing time.
Correct.
And then not only to mention, it's not just freshmen. You have seniors who have been there for 4 years and have been going through it. Correct. And, if you want to earn those spots, you got to work for it. But at the same time, I think if you're starting now at the club level and you want to get recruited, or like, let's say you're a senior and you're, preparing to go to that first semester of college, I think it's really important to focus on your intensity in training. And I want to reiterate, it's important that yes, you have the intensity, but the intensity is not sustainable for a long period of time. So I think it's important to like when you're doing your reps, you have short, intense reps,
Right.
but then you have adequate rest in between, and that will also build your fitness up a little bit while you're working with the ball.
Love it.
So it's it's like, yes, the intensity is higher, and you want to build up that intensity that you may not have had at club, but is probably expected in college.
Yep.
But just don't kill yourself on the intensity part without the rest. Like, as long you're getting tired with the intensity, but you're having, let's say you're doing just small little touches, like one touch passing quick, you're moving in and out of cones, one touch passing. Maybe you do that for 30 seconds, 45 seconds, and then you rest for a minute, and then you go again. Like things like
It's
that.
almost like interval training.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, and that's actually where you get the most results.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is push hard for that minute,
Yeah.
rest for 30 seconds, hard for that minute.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the game, to
Yeah,
be honest.
exactly.
You're wing on, you pumping,
Yeah.
and then the ball goes out for a throw.
Yeah.
And you get a
That's
little bit
your
of
little
rest,
rest.
or you drop back in
Yeah.
defensively and you're holding shape, but you're getting,
Yeah.
and then you go hard again to
Yeah.
get to the box, etc. Or as a defender,
Yeah.
same thing. So I appreciate that. I like that.
Yeah.
So intense train intensely and then find ways of game management or self-management.
Yeah.
And then you go hard again.
Yeah. I think also like when you get tired, there's like I would say like a good tired where that's when you need to focus the most. That's when your brain needs to be switched on the most, because in the game you're going to get tired. But when you're tired, is your technical ability the same? And I think that is also a really big difference, especially in college, where you're going to get tired. That's just part of the game. And luckily the subbing rules are, very different from professional.
Correct.
But like you can, go in and out. But the good tired, keeping the technical ability, keeping your passes crisp, keeping the ball close to your feet, that's going to be a big, big difference.
What's a big tactic for you in terms of when you get tired? So for me, when I'll get tired, I talk to myself.
Yeah.
And I would talk more to myself. All right, I got to mark number 18. I got to go do this. Oh, let me run forward.
Yeah.
So it kept me engaged.
Yeah.
And I eventually, as I got better or older or whatever, I started to talk to my teammates.
Yeah.
Because if I'm helping them out, I'm also keeping myself in check. What was a method for you, in terms of keeping engaged when you were tired? What was a method for you?
First, when I realized that, I'm kind of getting out of breath, I kind of do like 2 big, like just like kind of calm myself down a little bit. And then kind of, I'm looking around, communication is huge for me. I think as long as, I'm like, okay, let's make sure people are in the right place. I'm in the right place, and let's calm it down. Because usually, at least, professionally speaking, when I'm tired, it's probably because everyone else is tired and, the game has been like a little bit transitional.
Big time, yeah.
So then that's the point where we all collectively need to take a breath and let's just move the ball. Like, I think that is probably what we would do in a time where it's a lot of transition, we're tired. Let's get the ball, settle it, move it around, and when we see an opening, that's when we take advantage. So I think, again, like moving the ball, communication, taking a few big, deep breaths to just calm yourself.
Cool. Never thought of that. That was good.
And then just, focusing on your technical ability. Just don't think super far ahead. Just think, if I get the ball, connect a pass, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. Like sometimes people think 5 steps ahead, and all of a sudden they mistrap the ball because they're thinking,
oh, this person's open, let's play it there, when they haven't even gotten the ball yet.
Correct.
Yeah, so I think just...
So be more present.
Yeah,
Love that.
think,
Very cool. What is your experience in college? What is let's say that the training for, in terms of your practices, what is the mentality? What is the to-go-to type training style? And what did you do on your own? Kind of like the question I asked you earlier, but what did you do on your own to make you the top scorer of all time at Arizona Wildcats? What is that X factor for you during college?
Yeah, I think something big for me was starting to do things extra after training, before training, whether that's, passing on a wall before training, working on 1-2 touches, working on some shooting after training, kind of forcing goalkeepers
to stay back.
Yep. And they get extra reps too. But I know Hope, who just graduated, was her last year at Arizona. She was more than willing to do that with me. But just doing those extra little things that'll help you stand apart. And I think training differentiated like throughout the week. Obviously leading up to the game, you're much more focused on tactics, set pieces, formation, breaking down their defense, defending their offense, that type of thing as you're getting closer to the game. But at the beginning of the week, we focus on, smaller touches, passing, possession, and work on our style of play, how we want to break teams down. And then we go into the more tactical
What was your
stuff.
style at Arizona? Because everyone has, different styles. What was the main style per se at Arizona? I'm curious.
At Arizona, I had 2 different coaches that played 2 different playing styles. So my first, 3 years with one coach, it was very much kind of high press, winning the ball up the field. He recruited a lot of athletes where, we were strong, fast, explosive, whatever, all three of those, only one of those, and it was successful for us, me as a forward and, kind of kick and run, even though it sounds not so great. It did work very, very well for us, got us in the tournament consistently.
Nice.
And, and I think that worked for us as a team. My final year, I worked with Becca Moros, who used to play in the NWSL.
Right.
She played all over the place. She played in Japan.
Yeah, she's great. Meadow.
Yeah,
she's fantastic.
exactly.
Yeah.
Her last season was in 2019. She played for Utah Royals before they were moved to Kansas City.
Right.
And she was at Gotham as an assistant coach for 2020.
Oh, wow.
And then came and is still the head coach at Arizona now. And I'm so, so grateful to have worked with her and still in touch with her and talk to her all the time. She helped opened my mind up, and we played a totally different style. We played positional possession, which is a lot more passing, a lot more moving, a lot more kind of Barcelona style,
Right.
a lot of passing and moving. And honestly, that was a big transition for us because we weren't used to that. So it wasn't on paper. It wasn't our best season, but for me mentally and transitioning into the NWSL, it was
Massive.
It was huge.
Yeah.
I really don't know how prepared I would have been for the NWSL had I not had that year of growth and development with Becca and Lorraine and Brian, her two other
Nice.
coaches that are with her at Arizona. So I'm just so grateful for that. But yeah, just working on those little things is, again, little passing, little traps, control of the ball, being comfortable with the ball. Those things you can do every single day, no matter what level you are.
Love that. That's super cool, man. I'm kind of want to slip a side note. I love that you mentioned you had two different coaches.
Mm-hmm.
And in high school, you had a different coach. And then in club, you had one coach
Yeah.
or two?
One.
One coach. So you named, 4 or 5 different coaches. Then you had
Yeah.
me as a trainer.
Yeah.
Whoever else you had as a trainer in NorCal.
Yeah.
So you just, 7, 8 coaches right there. And named the assistant coach, maybe 10.
Yeah.
I believe, for me personally, every coach has its value, even the bad ones,
Yeah.
or you perceive as a bad one,
Yeah.
has tested me in some sort of way. I had a coach when I was at the U20 national team that he was just mean. Man, he called me all sorts of names other than my real name.
Yeah.
But he trained Dwight York,
Yeah.
so he had leeway to
Yeah.
be him
Yeah.
in that manner. And instead of quitting, I was like, I toughed it out,
Yeah.
and I grew
Yeah.
because I persevere in that manner.
Yeah.
What about you and your thoughts in terms of all the coaching that you've had? What is terms of your perception, your opinion on
Yeah.
that journey with all those different coaches
Yeah.
leading up to pro even?
Yeah, I think it's really great. I mean, each coach has opened up my eyes to different parts of the game,
Love that you
like
say that.
every coach has their own philosophy of what they think that is the best form of soccer, and that's just natural. Everybody's going to have a different opinion of what quote unquote good soccer looks like.
Right.
And I think that I was able to take what works for me the most with their values of soccer and use that to my advantage and use that in my arsenal, you could say, where I'm growing and getting better as a player. Like you really emphasize me being explosive, getting my touch out there and finding the corners. That's something that, that I take with me everywhere I go. Right. There are certain things that, Becca has taught me of, finding, you can tell when you pass if you're using the right part of your foot or not. So I'm much more conscious about where the ball actually hits my foot so I can determine, if that's going to be a good pass or not. And some little technical things like that she's taught me. So I think overall, every coach has taught me little things about, soccer. And it could have been, mental. Like, you said you had a coach that yelled at you a lot. My club coach did the same thing. And it taught me that for me, when I play well, I play angry. That's something that's like so.
Oh, that's so funny,
that's
right?
such a big part of who I am as a player.
So funny,
and
yeah.
he really taught me that. And although it's like, in the moment it's frustrating. You're like, why are you yelling at me? Like let's say, like there was a time where we lost 4-3. but I scored 3 goals, and he's yelling at me like, if you would have made that shot, we would have won. And then I'm getting so angry, and I'm like, well, don't talk to me. I'm the one that scored 3 goals. Why are we giving up for?
So funny.
So, but that, taught me that I do play my best when I'm angry, and, I take that with me wherever I go, and it does make me better. And, but obviously there's a way to control your anger and,
channel it.
Exactly.
Yep.
And I work with the mental performance consultant with the Red Stars, and she has helped me so much in being able to, it's kind of like, a hill where you're like, your optimal performance and anger is like at an 8. Let's say like your best performance, you're at an 8. But once you get to a 9 on the anger scale, your performance starts to drop. So you need to figure out a way to check yourself before you get down to a 10. Your performance down here, you're so angry.
Interesting.
So it's just finding that optimal anger to performance ratio to perform your best and be angry at the same time.
Oh, so not angry where you lose.
Exactly.
And you're getting red cards and yellow cards
100%.
like some of our coaches.
Yeah. It's like having the confidence in yourself, finding some anger, whether you take that externally or you make it up. We talk about just pretending that, I don't know, you got in a fight with your mom, or, you got in a fight with your boyfriend, or whatever the case may be, and just using that. Or it's like, let's say we had a 5v5 tournament and my team lost. Using that anger from the loss of the 5v5 tournament into the game, using that anger to increase your performance. So it's like, well, I didn't win that game, I'm going to win this one.
Love it.
And that's the one that matters.
That's your drive.
Yeah.
Love that. You saw some sort of motivation. Okay, so what I'm getting from you in college practices, obviously, was intense, more tactical.
Yeah.
But you did your own homework.
Yeah.
You stayed you came early or you stayed back late, grabbed a teammate, and you trained to get that extra edge. So we'll love to thank you for coming to the camp last week. It was fantastic. Jill came to the elite soccer training camp where we had both youngers and olders, boys and girls, and it was fantastic to have you there, sharing your experience, your overall vibe at the practice. What did you get from actually being from a coaching standpoint?
Yeah.
Now that since you're still a player, but coaching now obviously is a different skill set. What was your experience like at one of our camps at Joint Soccer 360?
Overall, I think the camp was really great. I think the kids have a lot of energy, and it's always good to get them moving and playing. Tire them out for their parents, especially before Thanksgiving.
You're welcome, right?
Yeah, but overall, I thought it was really interesting and eye-opening a little bit. With camps, you kind of just have to go with the flow a little bit.
Adjust.
Exactly. It's always about adjusting and being adaptable. And sometimes I'm teaching the kids that are like maybe like 10 years old, and for me, like soccer has changed so much, especially at the youth level. Like I'm not exactly sure what level they're supposed to be at. So I'm learning as I'm teaching them and trying to challenge them a little bit with their touches, get them better at volleys, getting them better, just little things like that. And overall, it was definitely a learning experience, trying to control them. I'm not used to, I'm used to just playing with people my age.
Yeah,
or,
adults, yeah.
Exactly. And, but it was really great. And, sometimes I have to watch, the coaches that have been doing this for years and years and years to kind of establish the type of coach that I can be.
Right.
There are times where like the kids aren't listening, or they're just goofing around, and you guys kind of get into them. It's like, hey, we're here to do something, let's get it going. And then that kind of helped me like open the door to do the same thing. Where I'm teaching
with your leadership.
Exactly. 100%, because I don't want to just goof around and then get nothing out of it, but I also don't want it to be like a, some crazy boot camp where they're,
right.
Where they're just not having fun.
How do we balance the fun and the learning experience?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so, and then, I just, especially I got way better at the end of the camp.
Yes, you did, 100%.
I'm teaching them certain things. I'm yelling at them because I'm telling them to do certain things and they're not doing it. And even though they may not mentally think they can do it, they can. They just haven't tried.
Right.
You know, so we were playing, you know, flying changes.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
you know,
I remember, yeah.
people, they weren't using their left foot, which is kind of crazy. I'm also left-footed, so that, you know, I'm always going to use my left foot. But, you know,
Yep.
I had to train and use my right foot all the time.
Yep.
Especially because most people are right-footed. So I got more right-footed reps than left-footed.
Yeah, you did.
And so, you know, as they're doing these flying changes, I'm seeing some people shoot with the outside of their right foot, and I'm like, that's not how you do that.
Nope.
You know, so I got more comfortable getting into them. Like, hey, I had to start like bargaining with them. I'll give you $1. Let's use the left
Sounds
foot.
like parenting right there, especially with the youngest, right?
Yeah, and then
Oh,
you know
yeah.
they start, you know, and then obviously you can get into them a little bit, but then you also have to turn around, and when they do something well, you have to, you know, reinforce that and praise them for
Correct.
that. You know, they start shooting with their left foot and they score, and they're like, wow, I just scored with my left foot, and I'm
Yep.
like, that's it. That's exactly what we've been
Huge.
working on, you know, and it hopefully it makes them feel good that they were able to,
Yep.
that they were, you know, courageous enough to try it, and it worked out in their favor. And it feels good for me because they're taking in the information that I'm trying to give
Correct.
them, and they're applying it, and they're being successful. And that's really all we want as coaches.
100%.
And as a player, you want to be successful too. So, you know, that just in those 3 days of the camp, it really made me feel good about coaching and that I was making a difference. And I hope that they
Your
appreciate
mentor.
that.
Fantastic. I'm so happy you said that and
Yeah.
seeing the other side of things. It's funny, I still learn from players.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I'm like way older than they are, I
Yeah.
still learn from them. And in learning from them, I always adjust my coaching
Yeah.
to them and who we are, because we're here to serve, right?
Yeah.
So it's really awesome to hear that story. Quick comparison. Do you think these camps are a benefit? And two, did you do it a lot growing
Mm-hmm.
up?
I think I did a few camps.
Right. Yep.
But
Same
I
here.
don't think that there were not nearly as many camps
Yeah.
that there are now. What happened when I was younger a lot was you would guest play for other teams.
Okay.
So I would play 1, maybe even 2 years older than me, and I would guest play with them in tournaments or games, or I would go to their trainings, that kind of thing. It wasn't necessarily camps, but I did, you know, get the experience by going to other teams in my club that were older,
Okay.
and learning that way. And I thought it was a really great experience for me. I got to learn, again, from more coaches, got to play with more experienced players,
Right.
and it helped me grow on my team as a leader, as a player, as a person. But I do think these camps are super, super beneficial because, again, you're learning from different coaches, you're learning from
Right.
different people. Again, you know, if you have camps like yours where you bring in people like me who are professional or people who play in college, like that's so big and so important because not only do the kids in the camp get to learn from people who are still playing, but they also are learning more about themselves, and
Big time.
the coaches are getting something out of that too. So it's all mutually beneficial, but overall it's for the kids, and they get to do what they love. If they don't want to play pro, that's okay. You know, but being a part of a camp where they're still doing what they love, that's fine. If they want to go to college, great. If they don't, great. Like it's just kind of opening yourself up to meeting new people. That's
Yeah,
huge.
Huge.
The
Being
social-
social aspect. Yeah.
Exactly. That's not even
personal
about
development.
soccer. It's
Yep.
just about life and what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to get along with people that maybe you don't get along with, or you're going to have to listen to coaches that you're
Different
like,
voices, yep.
exactly. Maybe you don't agree with everything that they're saying, but you have to take, you know, the
It's like in a
information
job.
from exactly.
You have the HR, you have the head
Exactly.
position, and each person you have to adjust.
Yeah, and that's
even in a work environment.
Yeah, that's the
Correct.
importance of like all sports. You're learning so many different things at such a young age, and I think it's just going to help everybody in the future, whether that be in sports, you know, in life, within college, education, and really help people decide what they want to do in life.
Love that. I appreciate that, and we can't wait to have you to the next camp, hopefully later this year in
Yeah.
December. I know you had a really successful year last year. This year was a little bit more of a challenge. How did you adapt? You had different coaches, etc.
Yeah.
What does that look like here in the present, I should say?
Yeah, I think every day I'm learning and growing and getting better. Yes, I play professional soccer in the U.S., which is huge.
Massive, yeah.
But I don't stop there, and no one does at this level. Everybody is getting better in the off season. It's so serious and but fun at the same time.
Love that.
And again, like, we're all really close. We hang out off the field. This year we're lucky where most of us live in the same building, and we spend time together, and we go to comedy shows and things like that. Nice. But at the end of the day, we're still competing for spots.
All right.
And I think it's so crazy to think about how sports works like that. Like, these are your colleagues, but you travel together, you share a room together, you eat together, you do all these things together. But I'm so grateful for the experience, and I want to do it as long as I possibly can.
Definitely.
I'm always learning, always growing, always advocating for myself, always being as coachable as possible.
Huge.
And, it's just, learning from the people around you.
Right.
And, off the field, there are so many things going on. We have new ownership, and we're super, super excited for that. Right. And, they have really, really great hopes and expectations for us, and we do for them. And so far, they're doing a really great job with that, and they're giving us the communication that we hadn't had before. They're giving us the hope that we really hadn't had before in changing this club. And also, Chicago is just an amazing place. Yeah. In general, and to have sports teams. You see the Cubs, the Bears, White Sox, Red Stars, the Fire, like, the Sky, the Bulls. Like, it's such a great sports city, and it's amazing. And I think
do you like Chicago better than California? Yeah. I mean, come on now. What's up? Which one's better?
I don't know. I mean, I'm especially at this time in my life, I'm so happy to have the opportunity to live in a big city.
Right. True.
I think it's just a great experience. I've been able to get away from home during college and again in my professional life. Although I do think I want to eventually live in California full time.
Right.
But to have the experience to live in a big city in downtown where everything is walkable. Yes, it snows and it's freezing, and I don't like that. But that's just this period of my life that I'm just so excited about.
It's real. That snow is
exactly.
real. So I went to Chicago to visit my good friend Ro. He's a coach in Chicago at one of the universities. Does a great job there. And I was just walking through the city, and the wind came in, right? We heard of the windy city.
Yeah.
And then it started to snow. And the snow, it was this way. It wasn't falling. It was that way.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's real.
No need for an umbrella.
Yeah. So it was a windy city and the snow hitting me at an angle. Now, obviously, I went in March, so that's my fault.
Yeah.
But I still enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It was still fantastic. And I had food and went out on a rooftop.
Yeah.
And that crazy red bean in the middle of the city.
Yeah.
So
who knows about that one?
What is that about?
Yeah.
It looked like an alien ship, kind of.
Yeah.
But it was super cool. And I always felt like Chicago is where it's at. Hopefully, I'll be back there soon to visit. And I owe you a game. I've seen your games here in against the Wave, but definitely I want to see a game there in your city. It will be super cool.
Yeah.
What is the difference between college and the pros now in terms of your preparation, the games, etc.?
Yeah.
And what is your advice in terms of a person wanting to go that pathway?
Yeah, for sure. I think, again, as I talked about the difference between, club and high school to college, there's a pace change. There's you can't take plays off. It's amplified to a whole nother level when it comes from college to pro. You cannot take a play off at all because you will be punished for that. And it'll be very obvious who took a play off when that happens, as well as, the speed of play is just massive. Yes, it may look like we're just possessing the ball like around the back line calmly. It may look slow paced, but then if you watch EPL and the men's or things like that, that there's a purpose to that. It's really to move the other team
find cracks
exactly
in between.
To split lanes, to find pockets, and then
lines,
as soon as you're breaking those lines, it's on. And I think it's so great to see the opportunities that are out there for women's soccer because growing up, it wasn't as big as it was now. I did go to FC Gold Pride games, which was the WPS, which doesn't exist anymore, but now they're going to have a Bay Area team, which is crazy. But now the speed of play is so different, and it's different from other women's leagues as well, just as like MLS is different from EPL or soccer or La Liga, things like that, Serie A. It's different in the women's game as well, where, you could argue that, soccer in the U.S. is much more physical than soccer is in Europe. And,
makes sense.
Exactly, yeah. And so when you're playing here, a lot of it is about strength. Of course, anybody, who's really determined to play in any league can do it. But it's just, finding what fits best for you is the best thing for you.
All right. What do you see the top 2 or top 3 leagues in the world for women? I mean, we have obviously Serie A for women. We have the Premier League for women, of course, here in the U.S. What is the top leagues, in your opinion, from your knowledge?
Yeah.
And also, what are the top women's national teams
Oh, wow.
in the world right now?
Yeah.
In your opinion?
I think I do think the NWSL is up there. There have been, European women who come and play
That's true. That is true,
in the NWSL, and they say that it is another level, specifically talking about the physicality.
Right.
And then you have the WSL in Europe. I think that is probably another probably the top 2 leagues, based off of just the games that I've seen.
Right.
Some of the goals that some of these European women score is just crazy.
Right.
Obviously, you have you have Sam Kerr, and then you have goalkeeper Mary Earps, and just some of these crazy women, and then you come together and you see their national teams. England, the U.S., Spain, Australia, and then you have some other teams that are making history, as they weren't necessarily at the top going in on paper, but then you see them going through, like Jamaica,
right? Jamaica did well.
Exactly, they did
fantastic. Coach
they did amazing. And same thing,
Japan did well too.
Exactly,
they were
and
great.
Australia did super well. Sam Kerr was hurt for the majority of the World Cup, but people kind of probably wrote off Australia because they didn't have Sam Kerr. But look how far they got, and
great.
Overall, that's just the game is growing. Every country's getting
so
better.
Many records in this
exactly.
last World Cup. It was a first for this, first for that, first for that. Morocco, this, African countries, Asian countries.
Yes.
It was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And then to see Spain win at the end with their brand of soccer was fantastic to see.
And everything that was going on off the field with them too.
Right.
The issues with their federation, and then all of those things, to persevere through all of that and win the World Cup is
they banded
so
together
exactly
as
it was
as
just
a team.
about them as players, and I'm so grateful to be able to have watched that and
so cool.
see that.
With that being said, let's segue into your international experience.
Yeah.
I want to hear a little bit of that backstory of how you are playing for the Puerto Rican national team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, my first game with the Puerto Rican national team was April 2022, which was actually for World Cup qualifiers, which they just threw me in there.
There you go.
With that, they're like, okay, we're doing World Cup qualifiers. Go ahead. It's your first cap.
Right. No warm-up, nothing.
Yeah. But going back a little bit of how I started, I got first calls to be on the team. It was very weird. I was just getting random messages on Twitter and LinkedIn, Facebook, all these things.
How did they find that out?
Yeah, that's exactly my question. They had, I got messages from the DR. They're like, "Oh, are you Dominican?" And I'm like, "Where are you getting that?"
Watching that curly wavy hair,
yeah.
that skin tone. I was saying, is she Italian? Is she Greek? What is she? Right.
Some other Caribbean countries also reached out, but the DR was very determined because they saw my Facebook, they found my dad,
awesome.
And then I guess my dad is friends with, my dad's cousin is married to someone who's Dominican. Wow. And so they thought through that whole chain that I was Dominican.
Who is doing that investigation?
I know. And I was
Wow.
like, I'm not Dominican. And they like didn't believe me. And so I literally texted my dad. They're like, who's this guy then? He's Dominican. And I'm like, what? So I literally had to call my dad. And I was like,
Wow.
Dad, who is
Father,
this person?
Father, what's going on?
I'm getting calls. He's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
no, it's through marriage. So like, you're not
Yeah.
Dominican. And I'm like, okay, I know I'm not Dominican, but now this guy doesn't believe me.
It's just funny. Some people will just ignore.
Yeah.
You went through the whole process
Yeah.
of arguing and whatever.
Yeah, but eventually, somebody from the Puerto Rican national team reached out to me.
Okay, how did they find you? Was it a same
I
investigating
think
person?
it was. I think it was through like Twitter or LinkedIn, something along those lines. Reached out to me, asked if I was Puerto Rican. I said yes. And then,
Through your father's side.
yeah, through my
Correct.
father's side. My dad was born and raised in Puerto Rico.
Right, cool.
He was born on the island. He swam and did water polo for the Puerto Rican national team.
Awesome.
So there's
Gene
yeah,
Poole.
exactly.
There we go. That's how
another,
that.
yeah, another connection in there.
So
So
cool.
that could have been part of how they found me as well,
Right.
through his background. And so I got in a call with them, and next thing I know, I'm going to World Cup qualifiers in Puerto Rico.
How long after? Like a week, 2 weeks, a month?
No, I think it was like a month or so.
Okay.
And yeah, so
Any practice time before, or
we
just
had a few training sessions
Okay.
before. Of course, it was hot. We were on the western part of the island on the
Right.
beach in Mayaguez, and we played on turf. Played against Suriname. I actually scored my first goal.
Oh, nice.
My first cap, which was really great.
Of course,
Yeah.
duh, right?
Yeah, and then after that, we flew to Mexico, played Mexico. Fortunately, we lost, meaning that we weren't going to make the World Cup,
Wow.
which was hard. But the Mexican fans were amazing.
Insane.
Obviously, they're in favor of Mexico, but after the game, they're
Really?
chanting Puerto Rico.
Oh,
they're asking
love
for
that.
pictures, autographs.
That's so cool.
So,
I got chills from
yeah.
that. I love that.
So it was really cool to see in a really big stadium. We were in Toluca, and it was just, something I didn't expect, especially being an away team. But I think there was like the Hispanic and Latin
Toluca,
pride.
is that on the Caribbean side of Mexico?
No,
or?
it's outside of Mexico City.
Okay.
I think it's like
Right.
southwest
Right.
of Mexico City. But yeah, overall, like the fans are really great.
That's so cool. I
Yeah, it
love
was a
that.
really great experience. So now I've been on the team. In April of 2024, it'll be 2 years that I've been on the team.
Wow.
I played a bunch of games with them and just keep growing. And, it's hard. We're building a foundation, really. We don't have a lot of, like, pro players on the team.
Right.
But,
How
we're
many do you have?
probably like maybe 7 or 8.
And
pro
where the
players.
rest? That's not bad.
A lot
though.
of them are college players. So
I
a
know,
lot
but
of
to
them-
ask you,
yeah, a lot of
what
them are
is-
college players.
right.
A lot of them play D1. Some play at UC Riverside, Creighton. Some had played at Miami.
Okay.
Yeah, so like there's just a big group of girls, and Puerto Rico is such a small island, and Puerto Ricans are spread all over the U.S.
Right.
Although there's some concentrations in New York.
I know what to
and,
say, yeah, they
and
got a big
Chicago
community.
too has a
Really?
pretty big, a bigger, and obviously you can find a ton of them in Florida.
Of course.
So we're continuing to find as many Puerto Ricans, that have, the
Has this
opportunity to play.
experience enhanced your game by any ways, mentally, physically,
Yeah.
or talent-wise, or?
I mean, I think it's made me a better leader.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm learning different positions. I'm learning how to help grow the team. In the short amount of time playing with national teams, you have such little time to prepare together and to mesh together and to put on a good performance. It's so hard. So when you do get the chance to be together, it's so important to just really mesh and figure out, because a lot of the time you're just focused on tactics because you just only have a few days.
Yeah.
So, focusing on those things, getting really, it's really just kind of growing with the game plan, just being bought into the game plan
Yeah.
and what you're trying to accomplish is probably the biggest thing when it comes to playing for a national team when you have such little time to mesh together and grow team chemistry.
Right.
But obviously, the more you're on the team, the more you get to know each other, the more you get to know each other's little antics, things like that.
Yeah.
But so right now we're going towards the Gold Cup That's at the beginning of next year.
Right.
As it stands right now, we still have one more game. We play against Mexico on December 1st in Puerto Rico. So I'm
Okay,
leaving.
revenge. Let's
Yeah.
go, right?
Yeah, so we're going to Puerto Rico to play Mexico. But as it stands, Mexico, even without this game, Mexico will win the group and
Okay.
qualify for the Gold Cup, and we will be in second place, meaning that we move on to the next round of qualifiers at the beginning of next year.
Who's in your group?
It's Mexico, us, and Trinidad and Tobago.
Just three.
Yeah.
How was that experience? Because you scored against my country,
Yeah.
and you didn't just score. You ripped a hole in the net. It was like a lightning bolt. Did she just score? It was
Yeah.
unbelievable. I
Yeah.
was so proud, mad but proud at the
Yeah.
same time. I got all these messages. How could you train that girl? Because it's literally you trained with us that
Yeah.
Monday.
Yeah.
The exact same thing, and then literally 3 days later, you did a thunder strike
Yeah.
into the upper corner. It was fantastic. How was that experience going to Trinidad for that day or two, and
Yeah.
then playing that game? You seemed dripping wet. It seemed
Yeah.
like it was humid.
Yeah, it was really great. I'd never been to Trinidad before, and being with the national team, you get to go to so many different countries that you've never been to
Yeah,
before.
it's massive. That's cool.
Yeah, and being in Trinidad was really great. Super, super humid. On the
Yeah.
way to training, you walk out the hotel, it's sunny. As soon as you get in the bus, it's pouring rain, pouring just so hard.
Just for you.
Yeah, and then luckily when you get to the field, the rain stops, but then the humidity
The
sets
sun
in.
comes back out.
Yeah, the sun
just
comes
like Hawaii.
back out.
Yeah, there you go.
And so, it was just a really great experience, and I'm obviously always excited when I get to score and
What
be a
were you
part of those.
thinking with that thunder strike? Because we're gonna play that
Yeah.
in the background of this interview. What were you thinking with just hitting that shot?
Yeah.
What went through your mind, or did you even think?
I mean, I think we were at a point where it was tied. They had
1-1.
scored
Yeah.
in the beginning of the second half when we were up at the half, and it was kind of like I needed to step up a little bit. I was playing the 6, so was really controlling the midfield, and then we got better at the rotation of the 6s, and I think that I was on the strong side, so the strong side goes, and it was just really about me taking my opportunity head on, and if I'm gonna have the opportunity to score, I need to take every moment that I can, and that moment was it. And I knew that goalkeeper, she hadn't been able to catch a whole lot from what I had seen in warm-ups and our other shots throughout
So
the
you were
game.
watching before
Yeah.
in practice, in warm-up, sorry.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I knew that she wasn't able to catch a whole lot. So I knew that if I had, as long as I got it on frame,
Yeah.
she either wouldn't be able to save it or she wouldn't be able to catch it, causing a rebound, and somebody else can finish it in there. So that was really the mindset of just, getting a hard strike, something that we work on together all the time.
man.
And something that I love to do, just, getting all my anger out in that one.
Dude, it
But,
looked like an angry shot. That was perfect.
But yeah, so it was really nice to get that winning goal.
Yeah, the reason why I ask you is because, I obviously train a lot of athletes, and they overthink.
Yeah.
They overthink when they do about the shot. Should I shoot? Should I not shoot?
Mm-hmm.
And it just looked like you were predetermined what you were going to do
Yeah.
prior to making that touch past
Yeah.
the player and then heading.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic to
Yeah,
see.
I think it's just something that I work on a lot, and it's always great to see when practice translates into the game.
No doubt. Okay, it has been so fantastic having you. What is your advice for young people, male or female, training from, 8 years old when you started, or younger these days,
Yeah.
all the way up through high school, trying to achieve what you have achieved and achieving? What is your advice for those players?
Yeah, I would say, obviously you could say work hard. That's just, a given for somebody
Yeah,
who's
it's
determined. Exactly. Overall, I think just to continue to work on the little things. I think that's super important. Whatever
cool.
sport you're playing, like if you're playing American football, practice throwing, practice catching. Those things never go away. Practice your footwork, but specifically in soccer, practice your passing, your trapping, your long balls, and emphasize your elite quality. Emphasize your elite quality but also train the things you're not so good at, like training your opposite foot, your non-dominant foot. That is super, super important while training something that you're super elite at, something that you will stand out the most.
I like that
by
comment.
coaches, by fans, by other players. You know, like let's say you have an amazing cross. Whip those crosses in every time you get the opportunity. People will notice.
Yep.
So I think that's probably just focus on your elite quality.
I love that, and really excel.
Yeah.
I made teams because I could head
Yeah.
anything you throw at me.
Yeah.
I use my height, my jumping ability, and I could tackle. And I loved it.
Yeah.
I love tackling super hard and my pinpoint passing. So that really makes sense of really amplifying what you're good at.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the little things. I love that. The little things that kind of help make the margins are really thin as you go higher and higher.
Exactly.
So whether it's using your right foot or your first touch, in your case, really cool to see that.